life.
All right. Well, I'm excited to hop on another Google Hangout, Keith. This is so fun doing these things. This technology is amazing. Google's on the move in the same way that longevity's on the move. Massive momentum and constantly making themselves better. And I'm excited to come on this Hangout today because I'm fortunate. I've known you for a long time. And I worked very hard to get to know you. You were a very busy man when I met you. And a lot of people know the story, some people don't know the story, but I literally set an alarm to get to know you. Like at 3:30 in the morning, you were that busy when I met you. But I really wanted to learn from you. That was really important for me to get a chance to learn and rub shoulders with somebody like you. And what do I mean by somebody like you? Well, you have accomplished, like I always say, a tenth of 1% of anything that any entrepreneur, let alone direct sales network marketer, would love to accomplish in their career. You've already taken a ride of a lifetime. When you see the word momentum, you have experienced a momentum run that very, very few other people ever have. Now, one thing that's interesting about this little world called perception, when I met you, my perception was totally different than once I got to know you. I thought, oh, Keith, he lives in Orem, Utah. He went to BYU. He must have rich parents. He must have had everything handed to him. You know, he looks very clean cut. You know, would he hang out with a dirty skateboarder like me? You know, and come to find, you have a lot of substance to you. You're not some spoon-fed guy who had everything handed to you, that knew you were going to be wealthy from age one. Matter of fact, just the opposite. And I'm excited to just kind of come on here and talk about residual income, talk about timing, talk about massive action, of course. But why do you still work? Because you have accomplished something in your adult career that very few have. You have accomplished the amount of earnings that most people, in their mind, if they accomplished that, they'd be on the golf course all day drinking beer, golfing, out in the hot sun, doing whatever, watching TV in the afternoon, and they would be quote unquote retired. And you were so far from retired. So maybe, I know I've thrown a lot out here, but I'm excited for this hangout. First of all, maybe for you to share about some of what you went through as a child, what it was like growing up with your parents, and most importantly, what drove you to become as successful as you are. And then once you became successful, why do you keep working? And I think if you could give us a little bit about each one of those sections, it would really serve a lot of people well.
Well, thank you, Cody. That's a lot to try to talk about and up to all of a sudden. It has been fun. We've known each other for quite a few years now. And you were that young guy who was very, very active trying to get a hold of me. And honestly, the only time I had available was 4:30 in the morning, which is 3:30 in the morning your time. And I was shocked when you got up to be trained. And so I was very pleased, don't get me wrong, but I was very shocked. And wow, what a difference it's made in both of our lives for the good. It, it's interesting because I can remember, I think it was, gosh, Cody, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, you were sitting there, you and I were talking, and you said to me, you said, Keith, here's the thing. People can't relate to you. And I said, well, why? And he said, because, look, you had everything given to you. You had basically a silver spoon in your mouth. You grew up with rich parents. You had all that. And I looked at you and I said, Cody, are you serious? And you said, yes. I mean, you had everything you needed. I said, Cody, let me tell you where I've been in my life, what I've had to go through, what I've come through, so that you'll know that we really are, buddy, just the exact same. I was actually born in New Orleans, and I lived there for a grand total of only 3 years. But it's kind of fun to say you were born in New Orleans. But when I was 3 years old, my parents moved to Nacogdoches, Texas. And Nacogdoches, Texas is a little town. It's on the border of Louisiana, and Arkansas. We went north about 100 or a little bit less than 100 miles, I'd be in Arkansas. And if I went east about 50 miles, I'd be in Louisiana. But it was a beautiful, beautiful area. Nacogdoches was a small town. We used to call it Naca Nowhere as we grew up because it was a small town, but honestly, it was a great place to grow up. When my father worked with the U.S. Forest Service, and when I was young, my father developed throat cancer, and it was devastating. Of course, I mean, you being young like that, Cody, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I didn't understand a lot, but I can remember people coming up to me and saying, "Keith, you understand your father your father's going to die, or you may die. Would you want to talk about it?" And I said, "No. If I want to talk to somebody, I'll talk, like to my mom or something, but it's okay. I didn't really want to." Um, and one night I can remember, and it was the year 1964. And the only reason I remember that is we had purchased, or my parents had purchased a book called it was about the year 1964. Um, anyway, in the year 1964, I was 7 years old. And this little house that we lived in, it was a 2 and a quarter or 2.5 bedroom little home that we rented. And the reason I say that is there were 5 kids, and 4 of them were boys, and there was one girl, and of course my parents. So my parents had 1 bedroom, and then the 4 boys, we lived in 1 bedroom. And for my sister, what my dad did is he took a closet and he basically tore down a little bit some of the different things that were in there, expanded it big enough so that they could put a mattress in and some boxes in there so that she could put her clothes and everything in so that she would have a sense of privacy away from the everybody else. Um, and so that's the type of environment or type of home that I grew up in. And it was very interesting because a lot of times, Cody, or Susan, a lot of times, I did not know that people ate 3 meals a day till I went to first grade. In 1964, when I was 7 years old, and I had come to realize that other people did that, I can remember it was late one night, and we had in our house, it's kind of a rule that you didn't get up and leave the bedroom unless, of course, you were sick or unless you had to go to the bathroom. Since it was such a very small place, and since my father was sick and he needed to get all the rest that he could, unless you were sick or had to go to the bathroom, once you were put down for bed, you didn't get out of the bedroom till morning. One night, Cody, and I don't know what time it was. It was very, very late. All the lights were out and everything, but I heard a sound. And that sound scared me, Cody, more than I can ever think. And as I lay in bed and I heard it, I thought, I've got to go. I've got to find out where the sound is coming from because it was scaring me so much. So I got down on my hands and knees and I started to crawl. And I crawled, and the closer I got to the sound that was scaring me, I heard another sound. And that sound scared me even more. You see, that second sound I had never heard in my life. The first sound was my mother, and it was the sound of my mother crying. And she was talking to my father. And the second sound was my father, and he was crying. And my mother said something, and I don't know the exact words, but it was Lowell, because that was my father's name. She said, "Lowell, it's so hard. I can't stand the look on the kids' faces when we have to put them to bed without any food." Um, and I wanted, as a little boy, to scream out, "Mom, we're fine. Don't worry about us." And my dad, of course, was trying to comfort her. Um, we really were, for a lot of part, dependent on a church welfare system, and people giving us either food or hand-me-down clothes. But hearing my mother and father crying like that about us kids, and we knew that we were poor and everything, but we were happy. We felt like we were this unit of what a wonderful family we had, and we were so happy and everything, even though we were going through just tons of hardships. And I remember after I heard those two crying, and even though I wanted to just yell out to them that we were okay, I got back on my hands and knees, and I went back to the bedroom where the place where we slept was. And that night, Cody, I was 7 years old. I did something for the very first time in my life, and it's something that I've come to believe in with all of my heart. I can tell you I don't completely understand it, but boy, do I believe in it. And what I did is I got on my hands or on my knees, and I looked to heaven, and I started to pray. I had a Sunday school teacher who I really admired, and this Sunday school teacher had taught us how to pray. And she told us that we could pray at any time we ever needed for help. And so that night in my life, I needed help. My parents needed help. So I got on my knees and I said something like, Dear God, please help my mother and dad so they don't have to cry anymore. Let them know that we kids are just fine, and please take care of them, and please take care of our family, and if you'll do that, I'll give you everything I ever earned in all my life, and I'll do whatever I need to so other 7-year-old boys and girls don't have to hear the sound of their parents crying. I thought I was the first kid to ever hear their parents cry over a situation like I was going through that night. I didn't know that. Later in life, I've come to realize how often that does happen. But in that 7-year-old innocence, I can still remember saying, "Wait, God, if I give you everything, then I'll be broke. So what if I give you half of everything? If you'll take care of my mom and dad and our family and everything." And with that, I ended that just heartfelt, innocent little prayer, and a miracle did happen for my parents. Things did change somewhat. Didn't mean that we were out of the poorhouse necessarily, but things did get better. And in that promise that I had made that I would give everything that I ever earned, or at least half, I should say, of everything I ever earned, I would give it to so that other 7-year-old boys and girls wouldn't have to hear that. What did I do with that promise? Actually, nothing, and that's sad. It's kind of like I don't know if you can remember back when you were in high school or college, and maybe you're in trouble. Maybe let's say it's midnight, and you're driving, you're speeding, and the cop lights come on right behind you, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, if I get a ticket, my parents are going to find out, and man, I'll be busted, and everything like that. And you look up at heaven and just go, please get me out of this jam. If you'll get me out of this jam, I'll be a priest or a nun, or I'll go be a missionary or something like that. We all make these promises, and then when we get out of that jam, what do? We forget about. We just kind of say, oh, well, thanks for helping me. And that's really what I did as that 7-year-old little boy, until the year 1996. It was November. And I can still remember the day because that morning in 1996, in November, I was in a hotel, the Four Seasons, which is a very exclusive hotel, but waiting for me downstairs in that hotel, waiting for me and my family, was a limousine. You see, my life had turned quite a bit, and I had helped build a company that had become $1 billion company. And that day we were going to begin selling our stock on Wall Street or have an initial public offering where we start selling our stock. And we were selling only a small portion, 20 or 25% of the company, for well over a couple $100 million. So, I mean, remember, or there were 7 of us that were the ones that the original owners. So, you know, you have quite a few $100 million divided by 7. That's a good day. And as I was coming down that morning on the elevator, my wife looked at me and she said, "Keith, you look like you've seen a ghost." And I looked back at her and I said, "Well, I think I have." Because as I was riding the elevator down, all I heard was the prayer playing back through my mind of a 7-year-old little boy saying, "If you'll help me, I'll give you half of everything I ever earned." And that day, that prayer kept going on in my head. And I can remember, I looked heavenward and I said, "No, no, 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 not today. Don't remind me of that. This is such a good day. It's such a big day." And I realized that I had to keep my end of the promise. So I told my wife about exactly what I had done. And that night, we went back to our hotel room and we tried to figure out exactly what I had earned to the best of our ability. Of course, we were guessing, but what I had earned in my life. And then we gave half of that to different organizations that dealt with poverty and hunger in our country. And we still do that today with half of our earnings. And I always tell people that's the easy part. Anybody can give money away. But I had made another promise, Cody, and I had promised that if he would help, I would do everything I could to help so other 7-year-old boys and girls wouldn't have to hear their parents cry. That's where the power of this industry of network marketing came into play. Cody, this is the greatest industry in the world today. And what's even greater than that, we are involved with the greatest company and the greatest industry in the world. We can help people earn $500 a month, $1,500 a month, $5,000 a month, even more. But what's so important, Cody, is simply this. Not only can we help someone earn that type of money, but it's an income that's residual. You see, in most of the world, most of the people will do what they'll exchange a unit of time for a unit of money. Maybe they'll work for $15 in an hour or $50,000 for a year, but they're exchanging time for money. And my parents used to tell me that's where you'll find security, but I learned at a young age it really isn't. Where you'll find security is where you learn how to find residual income. Think of the job where you're working today, and you know that at some point you'll retire. But wouldn't it be great if that salary that you were receiving, wouldn't it be great if every month after you retired, that check kept coming month after month after month after year after year after decade after decade? That's called residual income. And of all the industries that there are in the world, no other industry is able to do and pay residual income as strong as our industry, network marketing, does. That's that is the big reason that I keep going out. My wife and I were talking just a couple of nights ago, and of the last 20 weekends, I was gone 12 or 13 of those weekends. I was traveling around to different cities in the U.S., in Mexico, or in Canada. And everywhere I went, Cody, I was trying to help these different people to be able to not only be able to have at their fingertips the greatest products in the world, but also I knew that as I went there, I would be able to strengthen and fortify the teams that those people had. And by so doing, there would be a lot of people that could earn 500 or 1500 or 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever it is, and that it would be residual. And every time that happened, I knew that I would be keeping in a small part that promise that I made as a young boy um, some 50 years ago. It's 2014 now, so it's 50 years ago in my life. That promise that I've made is still the driving force behind why I keep going at such an urgent speed out there in the world today.
You know, Keith, what I find so compelling is, and I've seen it with my own eyes, being in this industry now almost 17 years, right? I have seen what happens when people get residual income. I've seen it, and it's a game changer.
It
And
is.
once people experience, I don't care if it's $150 a month or 500 or more a month. Once people experience that money that keeps coming in, even if they don't show up, it's the most addicting form of income you can ever make. You're ruined once made residual income because there's no other money like it on the planet. And typically, it's professional athletes and A-list actors who get to experience residual income. I didn't invent the George Foreman grill, right? I wish I would have, but old George got some pretty good residual income from that grill. The average person isn't George Foreman. They haven't won a bunch of fights. They're never going to get a heavyweight title. They're not going to get a grill deal. But network marketing, home-based business, direct sales gives the average person the opportunity to become more every single day than they were the day before, with zero cap on their income. So what's great is people coming into this organization right now, our global success team, have that opportunity to out-earn you. And they truly can do that. There's no other opportunity on the planet other than word of mouth advertising and network marketing where that's the case. Why do you think so many people quit before they get to that residual income? Because I know if people get to it, they never look back. They never look back.
They would never look back, and a lot of times I think um, it's the fear that sometimes will come into people because, as I said, it honestly is. If you can find the right company, and with and there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I've been in the industry now of network marketing. I helped build a $1 billion company on the corporate side. And as a distributor, I've done very, very well building large organizations, Cody. And I've seen different people that have started along the path and they give up. You see, the one thing about network marketing, it's all about delayed gratification. In that very first month, you may not earn as much as you possibly need. In that second month, you may not either. But if you will keep at it, I can tell you that you can. A lot of people come to me and they say, "Well, it's easy. It's easy for you." And I really look at them and I think, "Do you know what I've had to overcome to be able to do this?" When I was 29 years old, I developed a brain tumor. It wasn't anything I wanted. In fact, there were two, and they removed one. Cody, they left one in, and it's affected my ability to speak. In fact, when I was 29 years old, for a whole year of my life, I took a book and I looked in front of my mirror as I read a first grade level book, teaching myself how to talk again after they removed that brain tumor. Cody, I've lived, not through that, I've lived through 10 different abdominal surgeries. I've had doctors tell my wife, it's over. In fact, one night even, they said, you won't make it till morning. And that was about 2 a.m. in the morning. And that's been many years ago in my life. What people need to do is to set their goals. And these goals, these dreams, we as a people have forgotten how to dream. What happens when we were little boys and girls, we heard the word no, no, no. In fact, I read somewhere where the average first grader has heard the word no nearly 40,000 times. They've heard the word yes about 8,000 times. So that's a lot more no's than yes, and that dreaming mechanism inside of people starts to shut down. And that is so sad. I don't care where you live, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, USA, Mexico, Canada, all over this wonderful world, wherever you are, dreams still live. My mother taught me if you will mix hard work, dedication, and a firm conviction to never quit, your dreams can become a reality. And I believe in that. So what I always tell people do is write down those dreams and then write down the goals that you need to accomplish in order for those dreams to come true. And if more people would do that, and then if people would develop a belief system in themselves, in the company they're with, in the compensation plan. If people, third, Cody, if they would treat this more like a business, the likelihood of their success will go skyrocket. Too many people don't treat this very often like a business, and that's where it'll break down. The next one is don't ever let the word quit enter your mind. Next, Cody, learn to speak and work and do everything you can from the heart. The next thing, learn to develop trust between yourself and your downline members. And when you develop that trust, that's when so many great things can happen for you and your downline members. Next, learn to ask for help. I don't care who you are, where you are, or when you may be in your career. Ronald Reagan said it best. He said, until Americans learn 3 little words, they'll never succeed. And he said those 3 words are, I need help. Learn how to ask for help. The next one, be nice, be kind, and do everything you can to help other people. And then finally, Cody, massive action. If you will go out and work your very hardest, massive action is what brings those massive results. And I know that was a long answer, but those are the 9 rules. I kind of went ahead and expanded on those. But if your person will follow those, I honestly believe, because I've seen so many people had success, and of course I can't guarantee anybody anything, but I can tell you this, your opportunity and your chances for success will grow immensely if you'll just follow those.
I couldn't write fast enough when you're talking. I'm happy that there's a rewind feature on these. Technology is a beautiful thing because you covered some super good nuggets. And I guess what stood out to me is just, helping other people get what they want. And you're responsible. Okay, forget about since you left the corporate side. It's documented. You made over $10 million as a distributor in the field since you left corporate. Okay, most people would have retired when you left corporate, and you kept going. We understand that now, and I'm thankful for it, because had you not kept going, I would have never had a chance to meet you, and I wouldn't be what I call on the ride of a lifetime with a charmed life right now. And I'm just one person. I can't even imagine how many tens of thousands of average people that you had a hand in helping become successful, being one of the original 7 over there. And since you've left corporate, there's been thousands and thousands of more. Isn't it funny? You were telling me just a little bit ago that it's not always the experienced guy who's done it before or the entrepreneur, the A-type personality. It's a lot of times that person who hits the perfect timing in their life and their back's against the wall and they decide, I'm not playing small anymore. My human spirit's alive and well. I'm going to get uncomfortable and I'm going to take massive action. And those are the people who usually are responsible for the majority of momentum and growth in a company when most people think, oh, it's that guy that's done it before. They don't realize that guy that's done it before has to start over from scratch at 0 every single time and start over. And the same people don't always come with. What has been your experience? Because I know it's not the checks. It's not the money. You know, for me, I've had those phone calls where someone's cried and they couldn't do this, but now they can physically. I've had those phone calls that someone says, guess what? We're getting married. Now that our income's over this much, our relationship's gotten a lot better, and we can move forward with our plans we've been dreaming about. Those, to me, have always been the biggest checks in this industry. Is there anything you want to add to that? I mean, because to me, that's really what we do.
To me, Cody, and I appreciate exactly everything that you've just shared also. What I've tried to share, and because it's true, if a little boy from a small little town in East Texas who had everything basically stacked against him, and that's who I am, if I can do it, Cody, I guarantee that other people will have a far better chance, I should say, because not everybody can succeed. But what I'm just trying to say is, if I can do it, coming from where I have, I know that other people can. They've got to learn, again, to dream and to believe that they can, and then just work and work and work. And pretty soon, those dreams that you thought maybe could never happen, they're happening in your life. And one thing also, Cody, I learned along the way, for me to be able to have the success that I wanted or something like that, I had to quit worrying about myself. And I needed to start looking out to others and making sure that other people succeeded. The great thing also about this industry is you can't succeed unless you help somebody in your downline succeed. It's that helping spirit of going out to help others, and as you do help others succeed, your own success will follow right behind that. And then, Cody, I'm very, very fortunate. Here I am, and I'm at that point where I'm at the last decade of my life of working, and I'm with the greatest company that there possibly could be out there in the industry, which is longevity. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons why as to what the purpose of this call is, but it is. And for anybody out there who's listening, no matter who you are, where you are, take a look at longevity. Talk with your friends. Talk with people who may be involved. Contact us. We'll be happy to talk with you and help you along your path. Again, this is the greatest industry in the world with the greatest company, and I'm very, very excited to be able to look out, reach out, as we've had immense success down in the U.S., and we're getting ready to go global.
And I'm going to just stop here, but you can't mention the word global without me pressing you a little bit, because I know the $1 billion ride you were a part of, I know international is very important. And I also know that everybody in the USA knows somebody in another country if they think about it hard enough. Everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. How important is it to get your foot in Australia right now, or Tasmania, or New Zealand, or Mexico, or America, or Canada, these emerging markets that are just on fire and love with the message of Dr. Wallach in 90 for Life?
Well, it's very, very important. There's no doubt about it. And the greatest way is, sometimes maybe you really don't have a friend that lives in Australia. But what I do, and it's brought me some of the biggest leaders ever in the industry, is I constantly ask people, do you know someone who lives in Australia? Do you know someone who lives in New Zealand? Do you know someone who lives in Mexico? And after, if they say yes, then that allows you to have a contact in that country. And so that you can be able to go out and build a team. It's great because once you start building that international team, even when you're sleeping, you're earning money. And that's a great thing about this industry also.
Speaking of not sleeping, I know you've got your plane ticket lined up. It's pre-bought. You're headed in Australia soon, and I know you're looking for leadership. And it doesn't mean experienced leadership. It doesn't mean you've ever even done this before, but you're looking for action takers. You're looking for people who are like-minded, that see the vision here and want to pioneer their country. And Australia is on your radar right now, and I know you got a trip planned. Anything you would like to say to anybody from Australia that may be listening to this right now?
For anybody from Australia or New Zealand or right around there, please know that in September I am coming, and I am looking forward to working with each and every person. And there's going to be people that hopefully listen to this and respond, but just know that we are reaching out, looking, we're coming, and are to build out our own team as we come there. We've already got a great start, but as I said, it's just a start. If you're a person who's wanting to better your life financially, who's wanting to better your life through better products, through better nutritional weight loss products, who's wanting to be able to tell the story of their life with some of the most incredible digital and scrapbooking tools that there are. The amount of products we have is just immense, and the people that are wanting to better their life with essential oils too, let us know, because we are on the way, and we're going to do everything we can to help you become a success.
And speaking of that, for everybody on here today, and Keith, I just want to say thanks for sharing your heart, because the beautiful thing about the truth is you never ever have to remember what you're going to say. That's why I love to get on these hangouts with you, is because you've lived it. You've lived your life. This ride you're talking about, this word momentum, residual income, helping other people, that is who you are in your core, to the tips of your fingertips. You don't have to wonder what you're going to say. And through repetition and helping people, it becomes very natural for you. You can go in and talk about your father's death, talk about what it's like to be standing in front of that mirror crying, wanting your mom not to feel like she couldn't feed you. These are all a lot of little events that happened over a long time. And I just want to say I appreciate your transparency and coming on here and sharing your heart and your life and just letting it all hang out, because that's not easy and not everybody is comfortable doing that. But I do know for a fact potentially millions of people can benefit from what you've shared today. And we really appreciate everybody being on here. There's going to be a lot more of these Google Hangouts coming. Is just as fast as we can do them, because obviously, Keith, there's a lot more to you than just a 20-minute Google Hangout, but this is one heck of a start, buddy. And is there anything else you want to add before we go ahead and conclude this one and then get after another one?
No, just thank you very, very much for taking the time, and just know that we're hoping and praying for your success too. And with that, I want to say thank you very, very much for joining with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. And guys, we'll see you on the next Hangout. Thanks for all your hard work. Keith, I'm going to get this out to the team right away. And if you are just listening to this for the first time, or maybe this is your first experience to Keith Halls and Longevity and our global success team, we just want to say welcome. If you just joined the team, welcome. We are so excited to help you go out and build your goals and dreams. And if you are just looking and haven't joined yet, get back to the person who invited you, or find out how to get your questions answered so you can get locked in, because timing is everything. And I've met a lot of successful entrepreneurs in my life, fortunately, because when I find one, I won't leave them alone until I learn everything I can from them. And I've met a lot of them, and they always say, Cody, it wasn't my skill set. It wasn't my personality. It wasn't how witty or funny I am. It was the fact I had the right timing and the right team of people to support me, and I took massive action, and that's where all my success came from. And we are right now in that perfect timing, that perfect place to take massive action, and a team of people that are here to help support and work with you and grow your dreams. I'm going to go ahead and conclude this hangout. I appreciate everyone. Keith, anything else you want to add in before we say goodbye?
Nope. Thanks to everyone, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.